Should you buy Detroit Become Human? Yes, yes you should. Now I know what you're thinking. Infinity Boy, the game came out 2 years ago. Why are you talking about it now? In fact, why are you even reviewing it now? So to answer your question, yes, I know the game came out 2 years ago, but recently I got the chance to play the game since it was free for PS Plus members last July, which was last year. And recently, while I was looking through my library for games to play, I ended up finding Detroit Become Human in there. While the game was downloading, I was excited because I remember back in late 2017 when I saw the trailer that featured Carl, I was instantly hooked on, not only by the graphics but by the music. The music is so good, trust me. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Anyways, once I saw the trailer, I was so interested in the game, but unfortunately, once the game came out, I didn't end up buying it, and I even forgot about it. But now that I finally got it and I got the chance to play it, I got a lot of things to say. So let's just jump right into it. Detroit Become Human released on April 24th, 2018 and was made by Quantic Dream. Quantic Dream also made other well-known games which include Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls. With that being said, now comes Detroit Become Human, a story-based action-adventure game where every decision you make has a big effect in what you say and do. Now I know what you're saying. Oh, it's one of those story games. The choices you make aren't a big deal. They don't even affect the main game. Now that's where I have to stop you. Now this isn't one of those games, especially Telltale games. Now don't get me wrong. The only game I played from them was Minecraft Story Mode, where most of the choices have the same outcome and ending, but they probably have other games like The Walking Dead, which could be way different, and that disproves my whole statement. But hey, I don't know. I haven't played it. But back to Detroit Become Human. So you know how I was talking about how all the choices you make have a big impact on the story? So about that, I just found out there were 40 endings. 40 endings? Yeah, I know that's a lot. Especially with all the choices and playstyles you can do. And the fact that they made this game in 4 years, but also another thing is that one of the main characters, Carl, was designed and even voiced back on PS3. But I assume they had the idea back on PS3, but with the limitations, of course, they had probably decided to save it for the PS4, which is a good idea because the game looks amazing, especially the locations, the environment, and the characters, and it just looks so real. I just love it. Alright, enough of me fanboying now. Now time to explain the story of the game. The story of Detroit Become Human is about 10 hours long, which is a pretty good amount of time for a story game or just any regular games. But the 10 hours depends if you just directly go into the game, like just if you only choose one story, don't even worry about the Easter eggs, plus Easter eggs, I think the game could be a little more longer, a couple more hours for sure. And also replaying missions could make the game longer. But if you're just doing one walkthrough, would be of course 10 hours long. But before I explain what happens in the game, I'm not gonna spoil it, so don't worry about any spoilers. I'm just gonna explain the basic premise and the story of the main character. So the game takes place in Detroit, obviously in the year 2038, which has a very futuristic look and vibe to it, where we get boxy and round cars that can self-drive, but the main attraction are the androids. In this world, androids are everyday necessity. They either live with you, or they could also do labor work like construction work or be a cashier at the mall. Another thing to add is that since a lot of androids have taken the jobs that most people would have, a good amount of people have hate towards androids because they took their jobs or they don't really have any other ways to make money, which obviously could be a thing in the future. But we're going back to the game since I don't want to talk about real life right now. Okay, so now that you know the atmosphere and setting of this game, it's time to talk about the three main characters of the game. So in Detroit Become Human, you play as three characters, Connor, Marcus, and Kara. Connor is an android prototype made by CyberLife, who makes and produces android for Detroit and the rest of the United States. So Connor is advanced and more smarter than most androids, so because of that, he's sent to work with the police to investigate cases having to do with androids who go rogue, or more known as deviant, where the androids begin to think for itself, question why they work for the person, and either try to escape their leader or kill them. Connor is sent to Detroit City Police Department to work with LT Hank Anderson, and they work to investigate cases of androids who went deviant and end up killing their owners. So like a buddy cop duo, but instead with an android and a human teaming up together. So the second character is Marcus. Marcus is one of those androids who helps and take care of their owners and buy their stuff. Marcus's owner is Carl. Carl is an old guy basically, but he's a famous artist in Detroit. Since Carl is pretty old, Marcus has to buy him his clothes and make food for him in his house. But other than that, one day when Carl is letting Marcus paint something, Carl tells Marcus that sooner enough when he passes, he'll have to think and live for himself. When Marcus hears this, he can't think about that actually happening, since he and every android is programmed to obey and listen to orders. Carl has a son named Leo who looks like a young adult but still asks for money. Anyway, Leo is one of those people who hates androids, and especially since Carl has Marcus, you already know there's going to be a problem. And of course, something does end up happening, and depending on what choices you make leads to what happens, obviously. So after, what happens, now you're all by yourself and basically have no one. That's where you find this group of androids that are ownerless and who ran away from their owners. Now you as Marcus have to help the group, help them survive, but you also have to think for yourself and have a group that depends on you in every decision you make. Okay, so for the last but not least character is Kara. So with Kara, you first end up playing as her in the store where you can buy androids, so it's like a first person view. And obviously, there's a bunch of people all, looking at androids and stuff, looking at which one to buy. And then one person comes in known as Todd, who ends up buying Kara. And basically Kara gets reset, goes with Todd to his house. They're driving home. Todd lives in a lower middle class type of neighborhood. And yeah, it looks pretty, especially with the colors and stuff. It just makes it look all, sad. And yeah, basically they're in the outskirts of the city pretty much. Anyways, at the house, Todd tells Carl what she has to do, as in cleaning the house, making food, taking the garbage out, and helping Alice, his daughter, with what she needs. While you're cleaning in the house, you get to see how Todd acts. He is just cranky and gets mad pretty easily and is abusive towards Alice. Since Carl doesn't know what to do, she just stands and watches. Alice goes upstairs crying while Todd is going to go upstairs. You have the choice to break your program, meaning you don't listen to what Todd says and go rescue Alice, or you can just stand there and listen to Todd, which I don't recommend at all. With whatever choices you make, Kara escapes with Alice out the house and are now out in the city of Detroit and wanted as a deviant with a human child. Now the rest of the game, you have to protect Alice and make it to Canada, where on the way you meet a bunch of enemies and also a bunch of allies. But back to Canada. In Canada, there aren't androids, so they could live safely without having to worry about being captured or killed. But also one thing I forgot to add into the review that I'm making, because right now I'm reading it from a Google Doc I made. While you progress through the game, there's parts with like all three characters. Well, maybe not all three, maybe two, because I know there's a part where Kara and Connor like interact with each other. Maybe not in the best of ways, but it's pretty cool because you're playing also as all three characters, and then there's parts in the games where everyone comes together. You get to see them from the other android's point of view, and then it's really cool. I forgot to add that in, but I guess this is where I can add it in. But yeah, so while the game continues, androids start to become a concern to the public, and depending on what choices you make, changes the public's perception of you and the android. Alright, so now we're at the gameplay section. So in Detroit Become Human, the gameplay is pretty basic, nothing too complicated obviously. You use the L stick to move, use the 4 shape buttons like the square, the triangle, the X, and the circle to make the choices. Use the R stick to move around, to like open doors, dodge attacks, and interact with other things. And when you hold the R2 button, you can scan the environment, which is pretty cool in itself, but it's also an important feature in the game. Since you play as an android, you can scan the environment, and especially with Connor, you can scan people and their backgrounds and use blue blood, which is blood but from androids. The blue blood and any other objects around can be used to create a simulation of the event that happened. And with all 3 androids, there's parts where you have to use a scanning feature to plan what move to do next, and if you fail in the progress, just go back to where you didn't fail and continue until the character in the simulation completes what it has to do. The gameplay is decent. It has all its cool features, plus the choices and different things you can say and do in a different situation. Also, another thing I want to add in is that there's a branch of choices and paths you can go on a mission. So this is useful because you can tell which path and choices you made, and if also you didn't like any choices or a certain way you went or anything you did, you can replay it and just go back, just replay it, and it'll give you a new outcome. But when you look at the story branches, most of the time it pops up after you complete a mission or once you load in the game and go to the main menu. So when you look at the story branches, it really gives you an idea of how many other choices could have been made or what path you took. But honestly, when I finished the game, I literally found out about a character that I haven't even met during my playthrough. Earlier, if you remember, I was talking about how the game has 40 endings. So about that, when I say each choice matters, I really mean each choice matters. For example, there were parts in the game where the story went a certain way, and most of the time, it went in a bad way. So I would replay it until I got the best scenario, or it went the way I wanted it to. But most of the time, it's because of a character I liked who died. And trust me when I say this game has no mercy on what decision you make. So if you make a decision where your character dies, that's it, the character's dead. or you can replay the mission and make sure the character doesn't die, like what I did a couple times. What I also like about the game is that, so let's use Connor for an example. Since him and Hank hunt down deviants, you can play in a good or bad way. So you can listen to everything you're commanded to do, or you don't listen to it at all and do what you're not ordered to do. For example, I didn't fully go one way, so I wasn't all bad, but I wasn't all good as well. And that's what I like about Detroit Become Human. Every choice matters. No matter how big or small, each choice matters. So now, the music. The music for this game is phenomenal. It is so amazing, especially the soundtrack. But speaking of the soundtrack, before I even played the game, I heard the soundtrack and I loved it. I ended up using a good amount of the songs in my recent Minecraft Bedrock City roleplay. And also, I just remembered right now in the Season 3, in the ending, I used Kara's theme. And yeah, I used it because of how good it was. So if you're planning on doing a roleplay or just need the music for a project, like if you're doing like a short film or something, or just something, you know, or you just want to hear the music, obviously, I'd recommend the Detroit Become Human soundtrack. The music is awesome. And like I was saying, Kara's music, I love that out of all the music. So in the game, each character has their own music, meaning the music for one character doesn't sound similar to the other. This is because each character has their own composer, meaning 3 people compose the music for all 3 characters. This just gives a different style of music to each character. For example, Connor's music is robotic and suspenseful, while Marcus's music focuses on hope and death, and Carl's music, which displays sadness, freedom, and protection. Out of my 3 favorite music, it has to be Kara. So that's all the music of the game, and now time for the final section of the video, which is the actual review. So here I'll just talk about all the info and stuff, you know, I like about the game, and just giving my personal opinion. Well, I guess, actually, the review is my personal opinion now, because I explained all the facts and all the story about the game. Now we're at the point where we gotta give my review and my rating of the game. So let's do this. So first off, I don't rate games often, so this is kind of my first time. I give Detroit Become Human a rating of 9 out of 10. Yes, I know it's a very high rating, but that's what I personally give it. Like I said, I don't review games often, especially like down to like 8.7 or something that specific. That for me is just too specific for my own liking. So anytime I'd probably do a review, I just give it like a full number. Well, maybe sometimes I'd give it like a full number, like a 7 or 7.5, but I wouldn't go down to like 7.7 or 7.8, because obviously that, like I said, is too specific for me. But I honestly would recommend this game to anyone who wants a story game to get immersed in. Before I started the game, I was worried I wasn't going to get attached to the characters or even relate to the androids. But while I played, that changed. I sympathized and cared about them. So that's why I try not to get any of them killed or let anything happen to them. Other than that, if you want a single player game, especially with multiple choices and different paths, then this would be the game for you, especially with the characters, setting, and music. And that's about it. Thank you for watching my game review. This is my first one I ever made, and the time it took for it was about 3 or 4 days to make the script for this video. And honestly, it should not even taken that long, probably because I get distracted easily. I get distracted with everything, pretty much. But yeah, anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. And before I end it, I might make more reviews in the future. I think I have another game I want to review, which is Cuphead. It's a difficult game, but after I finish it, I might do a review on it. But yeah, anyways, like I said, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time, and goodbye.